Hey, guess what?
Yeah.
Here we are.
Yeah.
It's that most wonderful time of the month
Week.
where it's Scott's Corner.
Oh.
Welcome everybody to In the Buff.
Oh, dude, we could do every once in a blue corner. And somebody
don't
gets to
like
have
that.
2 corners in a month.
Oh,
I don't
okay.
like that.
Ooh.
Oh my goodness.
That will never happen because there's 5 corners. That'll literally never happen, John.
I think it could happen.
Well, great.
It'll just happen once in a blue
Yeah.
corner.
I guess.
Duh.
Sure.
I guess. Once in a blue waffle.
Ew.
So,
Cody, are you
we're
okay?
starting...
Oh my gosh.
He's not.
No, Chris, you're gonna have to cut out all of my hiccups.
I don't think he's going. He's going to cut them all together, and then right at the beginning,
Could you
No,
or the end?
I'm not that talented.
I'm going to really hate that. I'm going to really hate that.
Yeah, that would be unpleasant to say the least.
For you, maybe.
We do this thing at the beginning of each episode where we. What do we do exactly?
We say each
Talk
other's
about
names.
the comments.
Oh wait, we do say each other's names. We haven't done that. I'm Scott,
I'm John.
the only one that matters. No, the only one that matters here is Scott because it's my corner.
I'm Chris.
I have hiccups.
Oh.
Cody has hiccups.
Um,
And Kyle's saying
yeah,
That's wonderful.
Sure.
How about comments with Cody?
Sure, let's get into the comments here.
Come on,
So,
oh,
bit
dang it.
of-
Cut that out.
This is a bit of a celebratory moment because John has finally released the Final Fantasy X Omega Ruins guide video.
Woo.
Thanks,
More
guys.
fucking Final Fantasy content.
To overwhelming success, immediately shot up to number 1 in the analytics.
Isn't that great?
Well,
Yep.
there's basically no guides on the Omega Ruins on YouTube that I can find.
You know, John, I watched that video and I really enjoyed it. Actually, it was all right.
Thank you.
I had one
But-
critique of it.
Well, let me give him my critique because mine is definitely more important. You definitely did not mention one of the important aspects of the Omega Ruins in your guide
Is
video.
it the chests?
Yep.
Yep.
Would you like to correct your mistake now here?
Okay. I actually purposefully left it out. Simply because
Purposefully, I see.
it was already a 15-minute long guide video. And
Yeah.
all of those chests are just straight up luck.
Right.
You just pick one and you get into a battle.
Yep. So, you know, obviously 15 minutes is just breaking the attention span of most of our viewers. So let me just say, you could have said, hey, if you open all 12 chests without getting a mimic, you get 99 warp spheres. That's it. You know, 10 seconds added to the video. I think we could have afforded that. But
John, you
that's fine.
disgust me.
That was your creative choice. And you know what? I criticize, but it's our most successful video in
Could I
months.
say this, John? Do you feel shame for it being the most successful and you had such a negligent mistake here?
No.
Great.
I see.
Good.
Wow.
Incredible.
Just unrepentant.
I
Chris, would you like to say your
feel
criticism
sick.
of our most successful video in years?
When he makes the big monster get the blush on its face,
Mhm.
he didn't put the ooh ooh sound effect.
I see.
And I was really hoping for that.
Hmm,
Why don't we move on to the comments?
right. Let's do that.
First comment from Ninja Noob on Final Fantasy X Omega Ruins guide video. Nice guide, man.
Thanks.
Oh yeah,
I worked hard on it.
Scott did so much work on that.
Second comment from 4, Final Fantasy X Omega Ruins guide video. He says, one of the strongest side monsters in the game.
Wait, hold
Fire
on.
emoji,
That's
fire
in,
emoji.
That's in Arabic.
Yep.
It is.
Can you say it in Arabic?
One of the strongest side monsters
Oh,
in the
man.
game.
I don't think you can say it in Arabic.
I don't think I can. And I feel like I'll get canceled if I try. More so than I already have.
Right.
Next comment, Final Fantasy X Omega Ruins guide video from Chris popping in here saying serious energy.
That was
This
my
is a
favorite
fun
part of the
look.
video.
It was. You said that and it was like the Leonardo DiCaprio meme of me pointing at my phone.
There it is. Oh,
My favorite thing about Serious Energy
He said
is that it never made it. It never made it to our channel. So it's just an inside joke between all of us.
So yeah, briefly, let's discuss this. Chris decided that he was going to make a video for the channel over some game called Peglin, and he made a video and he uploaded it to the channel and kept it private and titled it "The Peglin Demo Has Some Serious Energy." And we
What
have
music
just
did you throw behind
ridiculed him constantly.
Oh, absolutely.
What, John?
Chris, what music did you put behind the video for that? It was like
Well,
Flight of
I
the
put
Valkyries
the-
or something?
1812
That's
Overture,
what it was.
John.
oh, right.
You have freaking The Last Supper in your living room now. You have some
Freaking The
culture.
Last Supper.
It's an unwarranted last
Man,
supper.
we got the freaking Last Supper here.
And so saying something has some serious energy is a bit of an inside joke in the Double Buff crew.
Next comment.
In the Buff, episode 20, Living in the Danger Zone video, Colon Sausages coming in here. We were talking about some of our childhood stories. And he
I
just
got this,
coming
I
in
got this,
with
I got this.
the
Oh, I
freedom.
wanted to yell it.
Okay. You're welcome to.
Well, it's good that you didn't say the last part of it. It's with full capital letters, 4 exclamation marks, freedom! Wrench emoji.
Wrench emoji.
Something that we didn't mention in the video is where that comes from. The term, the war cry freedom comes from the atrocious animated movie Open Season.
Right.
And the
Well, I mean, even that was
swirl-
like a reference to
Yeah, wasn't that a...
Braveheart,
yeah, I was going to say,
kinda.
that's a reference to Braveheart.
Yeah, I thought...
kind
It
of.
might be.
Wait, you
but
were referencing that?
When I said it, no, I wasn't referencing Braveheart. I was referencing the squirrel character McSquizzy in Open
McSquizzy,
Season, shouting freedom. Which, so it's kind of a 6 degrees of separation here. But I guarantee that I had not watched Braveheart at this time, but I had watched Open Season, and that's what I was referring
I
to.
definitely watched Braveheart before Open Season.
That's incredible.
Yeah, but you weren't there, Chris.
That's
Did you
right.
really?
I wasn't there. I didn't exist.
No, Chris, you did exist. You were just, working off your community service at the time.
Yeah.
Okay.
You promised you would never bring that up.
Well, you keep bringing it up and trying to, get away with it, and I'm just like, hey. Next comment. In the Buff, episode 21, Into the Freezer. This is when we were talking about our little soiree in Dungeons and Dragons.
Right.
Yeah.
Hippo people.
A very elaborate comment here from Monsi. Does anybody else have their
I
comments
do.
up? We might be able to
A
do
radio
little,
play.
a little radio
I have
play.
it up as well because I like to read along as you say them.
Do you see
I
Monsi's
do.
comment
I see
here?
the whole thing.
Would you like to be Would you like to be?
I want to be Steven.
You want to be Steven? I'll be Mark. Does anybody want to be Toweret?
I don't have it open.
I
I
believe
think
I
it's
have it
to
open.
wear it.
Oh, okay.
Kyle?
Well, I guess I'll be Toweret.
Just do a different voice.
Okay, yeah, I'll do a different voice. So Monsi, first to comment, yeah. If Moon Knight got stuck in the astral sea and meets the hippo people, that's kind of the scene.
Establishing the setting
Yeah,
here.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Toweret, quote, saves them from the slaves. Are you guys okay? My name is Toweret, the queen of this hippo people.
Clearly never seen
Bro,
Moonlight.
thank you, my lady. Looks up. Ah! I was supposed to say looks up.
What happened, Steven? Looks up. Ah!
Both of them look at each
Also,
other and
definitely
scream.
never seen Moon Knight.
Ah! Me in the background singing hippopotamus, ah. She is hippopotamus. She likes swimming dangerous. Don't you dare think of getting close to her, or she might bite your feet. That feels like a song. I didn't know what the beat was,
Right,
what the
right.
rhythm was.
I was trying to
So
figure that
I
out
might
too.
have detracted from that.
You did great.
The only thing I can even remotely think of is hippopotamus for Christmas, which is definitely not the
Yeah,
right
no,
think
thing.
so.
that's not
Also,
correct. That's
she
not-
says potmus twice, so I'm just imagining like a weed-friendly hippo Christmas.
Kyle commenting on the same video. John coming in with the absurd level of competency over the minutia in regards to Final
Is
Fantasy
that what
X.
that word was?
Kyle, if you only knew the half of it. How much minutia John has absurd levels of competency
Jesus
competency
Christ.
over.
He's not
his-
okay. He isn't okay.
It's funny that you say that because, man, I'm gonna sound like I'm just sitting here defending myself like I'm an idiot. But I actually got so self-conscious and went back and looked. Out of the frying pan and into the freezer is a quote from the game.
It's from Final
Yeah.
Fantasy
Oh
X.
my
yes, in the
God.
prologue.
Your whole your whole personality
It molded me,
has
man.
been
It
shaped
molded
by
me.
this fucking
Final
game.
Fantasy X
Fantasy
molded
X.
who I am today.
Oh
It was
my
a seminal
god.
game for the PlayStation 2.
Anyway, are you going to finish the
He
quote?
also says, I'm so happy I know why you guys could understand all of the aliens and you all don't. That's because I told Kyle in confidence, and I appreciate that you haven't revealed that to them.
Very good, Kyle.
But he
Dude,
does
I
know.
thought he just hardcore butchered a sentence. When I read that, I'm like, this doesn't make any sense to me.
Got anything else?
Kyle also commented a second time with a very
Oh, this is
heartfelt
lengthy.
comment relating to living a creative life and what it means to live up to your expectations and the expectations of a society.
Right.
That was a
And you're
very
not
nice
gonna-
comment there.
You're not going to read it?
It's pretty long.
It's quite long.
Oh. Well, great.
I will read the comment I made on that episode, where I said, it's impressive that Chris was able to misspell almost every single name in the GIF crew. My favorite was Tennyson Jigglebag. Which was not his name. It was equally as silly, and maybe his name should be Jigglebag. But no, it was Tennyson Jinglebag. And then a bit of a dark horse here from Let's Play
Yep.
The Last of Us Part 24. John commenting the answer 9 years later, just coffee. Could you
Absolutely.
elaborate
Yeah,
a bit?
what in the hell are you
So,
talking about?
With the Last of Us TV show coming out, I was like, oh, I kind of want to. This makes me want to play the game again. But instead of playing the game, I played RuneScape, and I watched us play the game way back in the day when we were making 15-minute long episodes of a playthrough. That's painful. That was a mistake, guys. But in Last of Us Part 24, Joel and Ellie reach a coffee shop, and while I'm playing Joel, in the middle of his sentence, I accidentally fall off of a car and into some water, cutting off his sentence. And it was right when Ellie asked if he ever goes to coffee shops, and everything after that they talked about coffee and what Ellie liked, but we never got the answer of what Joel liked. So I finally looked it up to see what his answer was, and his answer was quite literally just. She's like, "Did you ever get anything?" He's like, just coffee." And then he stopped talking about it. That was all he said.
Wow, great.
Excellent.
I hope
I'm-
everybody who is waiting with bated breath
Yeah.
can finally
Can I
relax.
just
How old's that video?
9 years?
9 years.
Can I just
9 years of
Can I
waiting.
just say, looking back on that period of time, what is it that keeps me around, guys? What keeps me around? What makes you?
You have a car.
Oh, because man, let me tell you, that makes a lot of sense. Because I was so not funny back then that it shook my confidence.
Back
I
then.
knew that was coming. It shook my confidence to
Nice.
today. that I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
Because I doubt I've changed. That was after my first major concussion. So, like, I think I got stuck in that mode.
You know.
That's okay, John. It's fine. I'm not funny either. I just say stuff that makes people cry.
That is true.
Why did you say that so automatic?
Well, we're 15 minutes and 57 seconds into my recording. Who knows how long the video's been going on for right now?
2 minutes.
It's Scott's Corner. Is that the last of the goddamn comments?
It's the last of the comments, though before you get into your corner, I did have a short story that I wanted to share with my friends.
As long as it's less than 5,000 words.
I'll start.
He's not even
I'll
keeping
start
it
under that.
anymore.
Okay.
So, what? You're going to count out loud?
Yeah, Hawaii's having trouble with that when he said a lot at the same time.
So, during our holiday special, I mentioned that I like to give terrible gifts for Christmas.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this quirk extends to birthdays as well.
Ah.
In fact, what I love
me.
most about giving terrible gifts is giving a terrible gift to somebody and then seeing in their eyes the pain of them getting this gift and them trying to look like they appreciate getting a gift. Because most people, like most adults, don't expect to get gifts for their birthday. And so when you get them a gift, there's an automatic rush of like dopamine.
Okay.
Oh wow, that was very thoughtful that you got me a gift. And then they realize, oh, this was like a calculated effort to make me suffer. And seeing that in their eyes as they try to keep a straight face while I give them literal trash. That's what gets me hard.
I believe that. I believe that 100%.
Okay.
And so
John's experienced it
I
firsthand.
actually think I appreciate it too.
So I might have given my best birthday gift today.
Oh.
I was going to my friend Zach's birthday party. We were going to a bar or whatever.
Okay.
And as always, I go to the local Goodwill and just pick something there that they had that day. And, well, I got him one of these. I'm going to post it in the general chat so you all can see it. I got him a motorized DVD carousel.
Wow.
Oh.
That's incredible.
Well, because I know he likes movies and films a lot. Like, he's a big movie buff. And so that just compounds it, because it's like, it's a sincerely given gift. Because I know it's something that he would, like, legitimately appreciate. Because it's associated...
Maybe like 40 years
Are you
ago
about to tell me
when
it's, like,
those were
broken?
cool.
Well, it's some... honestly, when I bought it, no clue if it even worked. But like, I knew that he liked movies, and so there was forethought put into this. It wasn't just like a card or money, and that's what makes it even funnier to me. That it's something that at a certain time in his life he actually would have appreciated. But now it is just obsolete trash.
Right.
I almost got something like that for you for Christmas, Cody.
No kidding.
It was an automated tie carousel that hooks up to the fucking coat hangers in your closet so that you can have a little rotating thing. It had a light and everything.
Incredible.
So that you can display your ties.
Incredible.
Unfortunately, it didn't work, so I couldn't get it to
That
you.
would have been even better if it didn't work. Even funnier. Like I said, I didn't even know if this thing worked when I bought it at the Goodwill. But you can plug it. You have to plug it into the wall. This thing is the height of decadence in the early 2000s. Because there is literally zero scenarios where just looking at a shelf of DVDs and picking it out is slower than using this device.
Well, I mean, how does it not fall out at the bottom?
So there's like little latches. Like there's like a little latch that holds them in
You have
place.
to unclamp it That must.
You have to unclamp
Oh
them.
God.
Wow.
You have to clamp them in there, and then there's like a motor that turns this little carousel, which it not very fast.
Yeah.
And then at any time, half of the DVDs are hidden from you because they're facing
So you
away
have to
from you.
wait for the next rotation.
This is great.
There.
Hold on a second. Here's a really important question. Can you change the direction?
Yes,
Thank
you can.
God. Otherwise,
It is-
oh no, episode 3 went over the side. We gotta wait for the next to come back
Yep,
around.
wait for it to come back around. And if you see in the video, it's got that little arm. That's a nightlight if you're looking for your DVDs at night.
That's thoughtful.
amazing.
I like that.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And you can't see it in this picture I posted, but it's also you can also if you have 3 D-cell batteries, you can plug those in and take your DVD carousel with you on the go.
Oh, are you
my
shitting
God.
me? It's a
So
mobile?
use it in the car, on the boat.
Bro. Hey,
No wonder the planet's
that's
dying.
a game winner, dog.
Yes, except it can only hold DVD cases. And I knew Zach only has Blu-rays. And they're smaller, so they will not fit in this. And he tried to put on a strong face when I gave this to him.
That is amazing.
And say thank you. My closing thought is that I'm the kind of person who the amount of joy I get out of a bit is proportional to the amount of money I am willing to spend on the bit.
Right.
And I got a lot of joy out of this one. And let me say, just so you know, like these things used to cost hundreds of dollars back in the day.
You got it
And
from Goodwill
I
for
got mine for a
$3.99?
steal. No. Like I said, I got a lot of enjoyment out of the bit.
25.
$100.
Here- Somewhere between $25 and $100.
Oh my God.
I paid $60 for this
What
thing.
the hell?
I'm not
Absolutely incredible.
What the hell?
didn't even know if it worked.
Wow.
Honestly, if it didn't work, that would have been even funnier
I'm
to
trying
me.
to think of a bit.
I would have paid more if it didn't work.
I'm trying to think of a bit that I would want to do for more than $10. Like,
Right.
God.
So that's my story for the podcast.
Well, that's
Absolutely
fantastic.
incredible.
You know what that has nothing to do with?
Your
My
corner.
corner.
How'd you know?
Because it's my corner.
Oh.
Oh. Right.
So this
This
corner. My
is
last one.
Scott's Corner.
I love that song.
Was that a reference to something?
Painkiller.
Ah, I see.
It's
Is that a song
a song, yes.
by a band?
So my last corner, praised throughout the ages.
Yes.
okay.
Far and wide, people came up to me on the street. Scott, I just saw your corner.
Scott,
It was
your
wonderful.
house?
do you go out on the street very often?
Shut the fuck up. So, this year, I decided I'm going to do weird history
Ooh.
for my
Alright.
corner. And we're going to start out strong with something that probably didn't even happen. But it is weird,
Just maybe not history.
and its effects are felt throughout the world, I feel. The monkey hangers.
That doesn't
Okay.
mean anything to me.
In the 1800s, the 1800s, during the Napoleonic Wars in Hartlepool, England,
Okay.
I'm going to read you a brief little poem here. In former times, mid war and strife, the French invasion threatened life, and all was armed to the knife. The fisherman hung the monkey. The fisherman, with courage high, seized on the monkey for a spy. Hang him, says one. Says another, he'll die. They did, and they hung the monkey. They tried every move to make him speak, They tortured the monkey till loud he did squeak. Says one, "That's French." Says another, "It's Greek." For the fisherman had gotten drunky. "He's all over hair," said some chap. "Even up to something cute and sly. With a cod's head, then they closed an eye before they hung the monkey." This story details a shipwreck off the coast of Hartlepool, England, where the only survivor was a monkey in a French naval uniform.
What?
The people
Okay.
in Hartlepool, who had never seen a French person or a monkey, thought this is just what French people look like. And they thought he must be a spy. So they tortured him on a rack, and he started screaming and crying. And they didn't know what he was saying because he's a
Because
monkey.
they don't speak French. Oh, yeah, that too.
So they hung it. They hanged it and killed the monkey. This definitely didn't happen. The story is traced back to a song that a comedian, which is what I just recited to you, a comedian in the 1800s came up with this little tune. And that's definitely the origin of this folklore. But it is so pervasive throughout Hartlepool, England, that the local football team is called the Hartlepool Monkey Hangers.
What?
And the mascot of this team is
Wow.
Hangus the Monkey.
Wow.
Right.
What?
And
Hangus.
he's hung like a horse, right?
Well, what I appreciate about this is that the mascot references the men and women who serve their community and tortured the monkey, not the monkey itself, because they're the
Right.
monkey hangers,
Yeah, the Monkey Hangers.
not the monkeys.
And I just
That's
thought that
a-
was
Do they-
incredible.
If they lose a match, do they have to find a new person to be in the mascot?
Oh, do they torture the mascot?
They torture him to death.
Oh, they throw food and shit at him like they hate him.
I understand that football matches in England get pretty raucous.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't surprise me if they actually did commit first-degree murder against the man in the mascot.
Every time they lose.
Every
That'd be
time.
cool if the
Incredible.
mascot threw feces at the enemy team.
I thought that was a good start to the
It was.
to the weird history, section. This next one, also probably didn't happen. But at the very least, it's slightly more based in believability. I'll say.
Okay.
The Green Children of Woolpit, England, also England. Isn't that fun?
Are all these England?
No. The
Oh, I've heard of the Green Children.
this
I've heard
one's
this
definitely
story.
I
been
have
around.
too.
This one's definitely been around. So sometime between the years 1135 and 1154, I'm just going to read you the story as it was written, then I'll just explain.
Okay.
During harvest season, 2 children appeared. The kids looked completely normal except for their green skin and odd clothing. The 2 spoke a language that was unintelligible to the townsfolk, and they only ate raw fava beans. After some time, the children grew accustomed to normal food and lost their green coloration. However, the boy grew sick and died shortly after. It was a boy and a girl. Should have mentioned that. The girl was taught English and baptized. And she was able to explain that she was the older of the 2 and where they came from. She says this: "We came from a place that she called St. Martin's Land, where everything was green. What had happened to them was they were herding cattle, or perhaps this story changes, a bit weird. They were in a cave, and they heard an extremely loud noise like the tolling of a bell. While they were herding the cattle or in a cave, they followed this noise out of the cave or just to a different place with the cattle, and they found themselves outside Woolpit. That's pretty much the story, as historical as it goes. Here's what happened. The reason people think it's real is that in the 12th century, 2 different writers, Ralph, this is literally his name, Ralph of Coggeshall and William of Newborough, reported that reported on the appearance of these kids. And the long and short of it is that historians simply don't give a shit. They see it as 2 ways. They're like, they see it as 4 different explanations. Number one, it's all completely real, and there's no way we can explain it, so who gives a fuck? Number two,
Right.
they're aliens. Number three,
Okay.
it was intentionally fabricated as a work of fiction that just got out of hand. Or number four, it was inspired by local folklore that these writers took as truthful accounts.
I would posit a fifth option that kind of ties into the fourth option and say fairies.
Berries.
Because they're in
fairies,
England.
Yes.
And this seems like classic fairies. You know, a bunch of green-skinned children only eat fava beans.
Yeah.
Also, the tolling of bells also seems it's a telltale sign of fairies operating in the area. Learned that from Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell.
Also, I just really feel like they had a big thing about in England at this time about converting the weird, taking a fairy and making it Christian.
Yeah.
The Woodman.
In fact,
was one of these characters they loved. In fact, there's whole like art surrounding this where I can't remember what exactly he's called. He's like the woodsman or the woodman or something like that. He's basically English Bigfoot, and you'll see him depicted in English churches, and he has a club. Sometimes he has a club and a shield, and he's like fighting a dragon. But he has a club, and if the club is pointing up, it implies that he's using it to attack someone. And so he's not yet been converted. But if the club is pointing down, he's using it as a walking stick, and he has been converted to the peaceful ways of Christianity, even though they're really fucking not peaceful at all.
it's funny because like Christians versus fairies is like the main through line of English folklore. So much so that Christian is just synonymous with English person.
Yeah.
In fairy folklore.
It's disgusting. They should put them down.
The Christians are
Honestly-
the fairies.
Honestly, that kind of makes sense if you think about it, because an enormous amount of Celtic, Welsh, and English mythologies basically got written over, and that might have been their version of basically describing that.
Sure.
I can imagine that being a thing, because, you know...
I'd say, yeah, a lot of that fairy folklore probably comes from Celtic traditions.
But hold on.
You think in like 1,000 years, the folklore is just going to be fucking D&D stories that people made?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Oh, could it?
I would argue that in a significant amount of fucking stories we have now are essentially D&D stories. Like, have you heard of the Voynich manuscript?
Yeah, it's hardcore.
Nope.
So either it's a complete fabrication, or my personal favorite fan theory is that it's just a fucking D&D book from like 800 BC.
I like to think
or something like that.
My favorite theory about it is similar to that. Pretty much exactly that, in fact. Is that it was just some guy like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if there was like this whole world with different plants and it was weird? And like I made a biology book about the weird plants.
How for all the slowpokes in the audience, what is the Vonnegut manuscript?
So the Voynich
What was it?
manuscript is this super old book. In fact, there's a lot of back and forth for how old it is. All we know is that it's real as far as somebody wrote it. And I remember, in fact, this might be a different book that I'm thinking of. There's some other historical book that there's a story behind it where some Christian monk or something wrote a book and asked the devil in order to write it because he didn't have any ideas.
Oh, yeah. The Codex Gigas.
Was that
or
it?
something. Yeah.
And with the Codex, that's interesting. I'll talk about that for a second. That's interesting. The Codex Gigas, people have actually looked at it, the actual book itself, which Codex Gigas means big book.
Yeah.
They looked at the big book and they're like, man, based on the impressionage on these pages with the quill or whatever the fuck, this whole book, which is a big fucker of a book,
Mm-hmm.
was written in a night.
Yeah.
And that lines up completely with the story of the devil writing it. And that's the weird thing with the Codex Gigas, but it's probably just horseshit.
Yeah, it's like, that's so obviously not true.
Yeah.
It makes me wonder why people aren't looking into
It
that.
was probably like a whole monastery. And they were like, guys, we're bored. We cannot transcribe another Bible. You want to do something weird? Yeah. You want to say that the devil did it for us? Yeah. Dude, bet.
But then they did get the devil to do it.
Oh,
And
fuck,
they did
Todd.
get
Yeah, that's the twist.
Yo, Todd, I'm gonna need to do some serious blow before we write this.
Anyway, the Voynich manuscript is that it's a nobody's been able to decipher it. They're not even sure if it's written in a code or just literal gibberish. And there's a bunch of illustrations throughout it. They're actually quite beautiful, I feel.
Yep.
One of the things that they have been able to say that makes it so hard to determine if this is a forgery is that there does appear to be the makings of
Right.
language in whatever script this is written in. Like, symbols are repeated in ways that would symbolize words that are used pretty frequently, which is part of the reason it's so difficult to determine.
But there's
Like, we see the patterns of a language in it, but we can't figure out what any of it fucking is.
throughout the book, there are just a bunch of illustrations, usually of like plants and just weird stuff going on. And none of them are real. None of them are things that exist in this world. And my personal theory is that it's like I said, I think somebody... That doesn't explain the coded thing. Maybe he was just a huge nerd. But I think somebody was like, wouldn't it be neat if I made a whole world and made up their biology all on my own? And
Well,
then somebody found this book.
I mean, literally that's what Tolkien did, is he invented an entirely new language, figured out a script for it, and then wrote an entire fucking world anthology.
Yeah.
but
So, I'm 100% on board with your
but this
theory
would
here,
be the
Scott.
same as if he had done that, but he wrote it in this made up language instead of English. It was like, haha.
And also, Tolkien was some shut-in in England that never published any of his works, and nobody ever knew who he was.
He wasn't a shut.
Yeah.
Wow.
No.
He
Anyway,
fought
I
for
didn't
his
research
country.
the Voynich manuscript. I didn't research the Voynich manuscript like I did the Children of Woolpit, England.
The Green Children.
The Green Children, I'm sorry. I wanted to
Probably-
find this bit.
Probably furries.
Somebody back in the day.
Do you guys... So in UFO, like, circles, they talk about the children with the black eyes, and they come to your door?
Oh,
Black-eyed
yeah,
children.
yeah.
Black-eyed children, yeah. Thank you.
Oh, now I know what you're talking about.
What's the...
It's actually Black-Eyed Kids.
Oh,
Bix.
alright. What's the deal with that?
Bex, I guess. It's not real.
Well, I know that.
It's just ghost stories.
So the believers with that shit say that the stories we get, we don't know anything about the Black-Eyed Kids because the stories we get, people never let them in the house. So if they were to let them in the house, something bad happens that won't allow you to tell the story.
Right. I assume all the people who did let them in their house died some horrific
something.
death.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's for those who are uninitiated. Black-eyed kids are literally children who have black eyes, and they like this story. The general story is they'll come up to your car or they'll come up to your house. They'll knock on your door, something like that, and they'll ask for something like, "Can I come inside and use your phone? Can I get a glass of water?" Something like that. And it seems to be like they follow the classic vampire rules of you have to be invited in. But it's just a neat little spooky story. I think that's all it is.
Then why are they associated with UFOs?
They aren't.
Oh, I always thought
As a general
they were-
rule, yeah,
I
they're
thought
not
they were-
related.
Men in Black are.
they're related. Well, okay, I
Yeah.
thought they were related to Men in Black, which means that they were trained.
No, Men in Black are like thought form energy ghosts, maybe. Or maybe they're in a
Tulpas.
government agency. Or maybe they're
Oh, I was gonna say feds.
maybe they're a government agent. Maybe they are just fat white nerds who like UFOs, and then they show up pretending to be from the Fed, and they're like, "Hey, I'm Big Fed. You stop looking at the UFOs." And people are like, "Oh my god, that was so scary." Meanwhile, he's like snickering to himself, like jerking off in the car. But I think a lot of stories are just
It's
that.
like that.
Now,
that guy.
what
that-
about the What about men in black-eyed children?
That's a different part of the government.
Parental abuse.
That's that's what's going on Epstein's Island, I think.
Oh my
right,
God.
right. Well, that's great. With the green children, some guy was looking into it because Ralph wrote it. Buddy.
Several
so William of
years ago.
Newborough wrote it before Ralph of Coggeshall.
Okay.
But they lived around, quote unquote, the same time. Ralph died 30 years after William.
Okay.
And people don't believe that Ralph copied off of William because William didn't print anything. This was a story from his writings.
Mm-hmm.
And then Ralph printed it. So people think they each independently got that story of green children. And also they don't there are details from each of their tellings that aren't quite the same, like the cave and the herding. And in Ralph's story, Ralph's story is more of a story, whereas William seems like he's telling. It's like, this happened one time. That was weird. And they both mention King Stephen was the ruler at the time. So the story must have occurred between 1135 and 1154.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if it lends more credence to the story that it happened so long ago or not. I just assumed that this is just something somebody on, 4chan came up with a couple of years ago to be spooky. But then you're talking about how this was actually recorded by people 800 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm I don't know if that means it's more valid or that it's just more likely to be a fairy tale.
Maybe it actually happened, but it's misdiagnosis.
And what's really weird is that Ralph straight up name drops real people in the story.
Mm-hmm.
He says the girl grew up. She learned English. She stopped being green. She grew up and was married into... she served as a servant with Richard the Cane. And then she was married... she was given the name Agnes and married a royal official named Richard Barr.
I see.
And it's just weird that I don't know what the fuck's going on with that. She, based on the way he's saying it, it's like she was alive when he wrote it. And he was a person that he could have interviewed.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, it's probably not real. It's probably nothing. This next one, though.
Just some fan fiction.
This next one is unfortunately very real. My notes for this, unfortunately, I did a lot of reading for this. My notes for this are literally just read the Wikipedia. So that's what I'm going to do.
Okay.
I'm going to read the Wikipedia intro for Tarar, the man who wanted to eat the world.
Yes!
I know this guy.
This guy is fucked up.
This podcast has been brought to you by Wikipedia.
Thank you, Wikipedia. Tarar, sometimes spelled Tarar, was a French showman and soldier noted for his unusual appetite and eating habits.
Oh,
Able
I have
to
heard
eat
this.
vast amounts of meat, he was constantly hungry.
Mm-hmm.
His parents could not provide for him, and he was turned out of the family home as a teenager. He traveled France in the company of a band of prostitutes and thieves before becoming the warm-up act for a traveling charlatan. In this act, he would swallow corks, not cocks, stones, live animals, and maybe cocks, and a whole basket full of apples.
Is that what it says in the Wikipedia article? Does
Absolutely.
it clarify? That's
Absolutely.
what I thought.
He then took this act to Paris, where he worked as a street performer. All right, so we set the scene. This is where it gets fucked. At the start of the war of the First Coalition, Tarar joined the French Revolutionary Army, where even quadrupling the standard military ration was unable to satisfy his large appetite. He would eat any available food from gutters and rubbish heaps, but his condition still deteriorated through hunger. He was hospitalized due to exhaustion and became the subject of a series of medical experiments to test his eating capacity, in which, among other things, he ate a meal intended for 15 people in a single sitting, ate live cats, snakes, lizards, and puppies, and swallowed eels whole without chewing. Despite his unusual diet, he was underweight. and with the exception of his eating habits, he showed no signs of mental illness other than that it was described as apathetic temperament. General Alexander de Bourne decided to put Tarar's ability to military use and employed him as a courier for the French army with the intention that he would swallow documents, pass through enemy lines, and recover them from his stool once safely at his destination.
What?
Tarar could not speak German, and on his first mission, he was captured by Prussian forces, severely beaten, and subjected to a mock execution, which is where they basically put a bag over your head and take you someplace and make you think they were going to shoot you in the back.
Okay.
Before being returned to French lines. Chastened by this experience, he agreed to submit to any procedure that might cure his appetite and was treated with laudanum, tobacco pills, wine vinegar, and soft boiled eggs. The procedures failed, and doctors could not keep him on a controlled diet. He would sneak out of the hospital to scavenge for offal in gutters. Offal for you, John, I assume, because you're a fucking moron.
Wow.
Is like the gross parts of an animal.
Okay, thanks for doing that.
No one eats. For offal in gutters, rubbish heaps, and outside butcher shops, and attempted to drink the blood of other patients in the hospital, and to eat the corpses in the hospital's morgue.
Okay, now we're getting intense.
After being suspected of eating a toddler, he was ejected from the hospital. He reappeared 4 years later in Versailles with a case of severe tuberculosis and died shortly afterwards following a lengthy bout of diarrhea.
That diarrhea, that'll get you every time.
So I'm going to scroll down to his death. 4 years later, he showed up as Versailles, tuberculosis, continuous exudative diarrhea, dying shortly afterward. The corpse rotted quickly. The surgeons of the hospital refused to dissect it. Tessier, which was like a doctor he had befriended at the hospital. Tessier, however, wanted to find out how Tarar differed from the norm internally, and was also curious as to whether the gold fork, he had mentioned that he was dying because 4 years ago he had eaten a golden fork and it never came out of him. And it's tearing up that crow! It's eating me up inside! He believed the gold fork was lodged inside of him. So Tessier wanted to cut him open and see if the gold fork was in there. At the autopsy, Tarar's gullet was found to be abnormally wide, and when his jaws were opened, surgeons could see down a broad canal all the way into the stomach.
Holy
His body was found to be filled with pus. His liver and gallbladder were abnormally large, and his stomach was distended and enormous, covered in ulcers, and filling most of his abdominal cavity. The fork was never found.
Oh no. Where did it
Did they not
go?
look in the intestines?
Who knows? I'm sure they did. I'm sure they cut around in there. And unfortunately, that is a very real man.
Wait, hold on. You have a sphincter, though. He didn't have a sphincter on above his stomach.
I'm sure there was.
Sphincter, yeah.
They didn't mention it. I'm sure he did.
Chris, are you saying that if what Scott said wasn't in there, then he just didn't have it?
He was just a stomach with an esophagus.
He didn't have any teeth?
No.
Or lips?
Go ahead and
They
read his
said
appearance.
that they could look straight down his esophagus into his stomach.
Despite
he's
his unusual
also dead,
diet,
Chris.
here's his appearance and behavior. Despite his unusual diet, Tarar was slim and of average height. At the age of 17, he weighed only 100 pounds. He was described as having unusually soft, fair hair, an abnormally wide mouth, roughly 4 inches between his jaws when his mouth was fully extended, in which teeth were heavily stained, on which the lips were almost invisible. That's disgusting.
Sounds like a vampire.
When he had not eaten, the skin would hang so loosely that he could wrap the folded skin from his abdomen around his waist. When full, his abdomen would distend like a huge balloon. The skin of his cheeks was, I hope the face ones, was wrinkled and hung loosely. And when stretched out, he could hold 12 eggs or apples in his mouth.
Those
are two different things.
Holy fuck, dude.
His body was hot to the touch, and he sweated heavily. He constantly had foul body odor. He was described as stinking to such a degree that he could not be endured within the distance of 20 paces. This smell could get noticeably worse after he had
60
eaten.
feet?
This reminds me again as the... have you guys heard of that story of the woman who went into intensive care I think she passed away, but she was like rushed in, and all the doctors were like, why is she so like weird and oily? And then they all started passing out and like going into shock, and nobody knows why.
Weird.
That sounds like a spooky story.
It is certainly. It's probably, there's almost certainly it happened, it's real, but there's almost certainly an explanation. Like, either, it could have literally been groupthink. One of the doctors was freaking out that something just fell off, and that doctor passed out, and then the rest of them were like, I don't feel good, and they saw what happened to him. Anyway. 20 paces, smoking nose after his eyes and cheeks would become bloodshot after he'd be eaten. A visible vapor would rise from his body, and he would become lethargic, like a Pokemon. During which time he would belch noisily, and his jaws would make swallowing motions. He had chronic diarrhea, which was said to be fetid beyond all conception. Just like John. Despite his large intake of food, he did not appear either to vomit excessively or to gain weight. Aside from his eating habits, his contemporaries saw no apparent signs of food. He did not appear to either vomit excessively or to gain weight. I read that again. Signs of mental illness or unusual behavior in him, other than the apparently apathetic temperament with a complete lack of force and ideas. The cause of Terrar's behavior is not known. While there are other documented cases of similar behavior from the period, none of these subjects other than Terrar were autopsied, and there have been no modern documented cases resembling Terrar. Hyperthyroidism can induce an extreme appetite, rapid weight loss, and profuse sweating, heat intolerance, and fine hair. Bondison, 2006, I don't know what I mean, speculates that Terrar had a damaged amygdala. It is known that injuries to the amygdala in animals can induce polyphagia, which is interesting. He is like a poster boy for polyphagia, which is just
eating
weird
everything.
Eating shit.
Yeah. I want to talk to the author of this article who wrote the sentences, had no apparent mental illness, and ate a fucking child.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. What's
So he's not reporting it as like clearly he didn't have one. The person who wrote that is just reporting what the doctors of the time thought about
Kyle,
this man.
stop trying to defend the article you wrote.
Listen. I don't get it, Kyle. I don't get it. You're defending this baby eater and you're defending Hitler. You need to figure out a side, buddy.
Dude, like, come on, man.
Was it a
Why do you
live
think I'm the
child
DM?
or was it a dead toddler?
He just said the disappearance of a toddler.
Oh my god.
That's
so
a
that
lie.
means that
That's
it
a
was
lie.
definitely
No.
alive.
Yeah, no, the child went missing from the
Dude,
maternity
this
ward.
sounds like a creepypasta, man.
Well,
Yeah.
the crazy thing about him is there's like a weird number in this time period. I say weird, there's two. There's another guy in around this time period
It's weird it happened
who
twice.
was a Prussian dude. And he also had crazy symptoms like this. I don't know his name. Also,
Charles
Terrar.
Domery.
Terrar isn't even his name. They don't even know what the hell this guy's name is. Because he ran away from his parents at a very young age, so Terrar could have just been a nickname he got from the prostitutes.
I like to think he was too busy eating, and he was taught not to speak with a full mouth, so he could never tell somebody what his name was.
Terrar.
Excuse me?
Oh, let me first eating the baby.
Excuse me. Excusez-moi?
Maybe they
Excusez-moi?
found him.
Je suis Thomas.
Maybe they found him in the Tarasque region of France.
You know what?
Tarasque like
That's
a D&D?
probably what it was, Chris. You're right.
That's great.
That
Well-
other different word.
I ain't gonna lie, Scott.
The crazy thing I feel about this man is, we're all, there, if but the grace of God go I. Who hasn't thought about eating a toddler?
What?
Show of hands.
Or
I
a
didn't think
corpse.
this is where this was gonna go.
Or a golden fork.
I once had a thing where I had this little gold chain, and I would chew on it.
Yeah.
And I
You're sick.
stopped chewing on it after I got lodged in my throat.
It's probably a good time to stop.
It like balled up, and then I had to pull it out. I was like,
Wait, it wasn't around your neck at the time?
no, I was holding it.
God, you're fucking
When
stupid.
I was a little kid,
Dude,
I ate the head off of a Power Ranger. But I
Yeah.
was like 4,
That tracks.
5, I don't know.
This was in middle school.
Which Power
It
Ranger?
was the pink one.
I
Oh
knew
my
it.
God.
I knew it.
Yeah. I don't know what that implies, but it certainly implies something.
Well,
Did
we've made it to... Oh.
did any, speaking of Chris eating jewelry, did any of you guys when you were younger like go and try and swallow like long pieces of string and then like pull it back out of your throat?
I ate the head off of a Power Ranger once.
That's not quite the
No.
same thing, but
No.
We did. I remember doing that with spaghetti, not string.
Yeah.
The worst it's
Yeah.
ever gotten was like I had a cheese stick,
Oh.
yeah.
and like the melty cheese stick went
Yeah.
down my throat, but it didn't separate from the cheese stick itself. So I'm like, like that.
hmm
I can agree about it with spaghetti. I've definitely done that.
Chew your food.
It's spaghetti!
Yeah, you know,
Hey, you know what? Why are we attacking me? This guy just talked about putting a string in his throat.
I would just ask if you guys did that. Like me neither, but I didn't. But
The headdress from the
it'd probably feel pretty
the
weird.
headdress from the Power Ranger still in my intestine.
Is
Really?
that
That's
true?
actually accurate.
Holy
I had to get an
shit.
X-ray a couple of years ago, and they found it.
Oh. That's...
That's
The
good.
head-
I can't. What did the doctor say? Is like, what the
I
hell
was
is
like,
that?
that looks vaguely familiar.
You know what?
He's Mighty
It's
Morphin.
probably the lead poisoning from that made you lose your hair.
Oh God!
Oh,
I thought it was
Not
plastic.
genetics. It is.
microplastics. Yeah.
No, it's lead-based coloring in it. Because it was probably
Well,
made...
that brings us to our last
Oh,
story.
we got one more story.
This is a doozy.
Give it to me.
The Demon
Oh.
of Champawat.
Ooh.
Oh fuck, dude!
Oh, I think
Okay.
I've heard of
Sounds good.
this.
Listen,
That
man,
sounds good.
the last one already has me looking over my shoulder right now. All right,
You too, John.
Yeah, man.
Like I start hearing like odd bumps like outside my apartment. I'm like, what was that? Are they coming
Dude,
in?
I've been looking at this window. I've been looking at my door that's closed. It's
This is
like
why I don't have my back to doors. It fills me with too much
Just
anxiety.
I feel like there's
This
lips
story-
wrapping around
oh.
the top of my head.
That's cute. He's like Pig God from One Punch Man.
Oh.
Man, bear pig.
This story begins in the late 1890s in a village, small village in Nepal.
Oh, okay.
This small village was plagued by tiger attacks.
No.
It happened so
Damn.
prevalently that villagers began suspecting that one tiger was the one responsible for all the death. They hired some hunters to send out in hopes of stopping the horror. However, they never found their prey, and yet the attacks from the beast began to ramp up. It got bad enough that the Nepalese army was called in. The army organized a beat, where they would march through the jungles together in several lines, in hopes of forcing the tiger into the open where it could be killed. While unsuccessful in capturing or killing the tiger, they managed to force the demon across the border into India toward the village of Champawat. She spent several years hunting and expanding her territory within Champawat at the center, traveling upwards of 20 miles each night from village to village in order to evade hunters, preying mostly on young women and children, just like John. Men were frightened of leaving their huts open during hearing the tiger's roars from the jungle. Then, in 1907, our hero. The tiger had preyed on a 16-year-old girl in the Fungar, leaving a trail of blood leading into the feeding area. A trail that hunter Jim Corbett could follow. Tracking the beast into its den, he found the carcass, but no tiger in sight. Tentatively, he approached to inspect the body, but just as he bent down, he could see two eyes glaring at him from the brush.
Oh,
He raised his rifle and fired 2 shots, missing both, but forcing the demon to retreat. Corbett knew this was not a creature to be trifled with, so with the help of the villagers, he organized a beat to draw the tiger out of hiding. 300 people, women and children, marched into the jungle, and with their help, Corbett was able to fell the beast with human ingenuity because humans are better at killing than tigers. Fuck you, tigers, we win. We have guns, you don't. Use a gun next time, bitch. How about that?
Yep. Hell yeah.
But the zero
That made me
will only be
proud.
missed.
What?
That's bazookas, Chris.
Oh, yes. My bad.
And I think this is a tale that tells us, this tiger apparently, by the way, killed an estimated 396 fucking people.
Holy fuck.
This one
that
tiger.
tiger gave the human race a run for its money.
Yeah.
It's probably got a better KD ratio than all of us. Maybe not John, but
Probably not John.
Sorry, is this a planned effort? What's going on? Was there a group
Yes,
discussion?
and.
yes, and.
People also like to throw this story in
John,
with Gustav.
why do you think Deja got killed today?
I thought the only thing you guys knew about was the deer.
We were there, John. Of course we know about that.
People throw this story in with Gustav the crocodile. Have you guys heard of Gustav?
No.
Mm-mm.
I'm a Gustav apologist.
Yeah.
People think that Gustav is this one crocodile that is behind the deaths of like over 200 people in the Nile. And I don't think that's the case. Because there's a lot of fucking crocodiles in the Nile.
Sure.
And I don't know how anyone could possibly think. Gustav is, like, there are pictures of him. He's a big old crocodile. But that's all he is. There are theories behind Gustav that he just has some sort of, like, I don't know, glandular problem that
Some like
made him bigger
pituitary
than normal.
problem.
Gigantism.
He was bigger than normal at a younger age, so he couldn't eat, like, normal prey for a crocodile of his age. So he had to just learn how to... In order for him to keep living, he had to get good at taking down big prey, which is exactly what he did. And so now he's huge, and people, like, the estimated he's like 60... I want to say it. He's like 69 years old. Nice.
Nice.
But the demon of Champawat, she's dead. And she can't hurt you anymore.
Our Gaston killed him.
Yep.
Jim Corbett. Jim Corbett could be living down my street right now.
That's a very American name.
Yeah.
It's a very classic story of an American hunter just traveling to Nepal.
India. No, this is in India.
Oh.
That's the crazy thing. They were saying how the tiger had... They knew it was the same tiger because it had the same... it had gotten shot while in Nepal. It had the same bullet scars. But when it moved down to across the border into India, it had like changed its hunting pattern to more resemble a Siberian tiger with a really huge range. And this is a Bengal tiger, obviously.
Yeah.
And it's just really interesting that the tiger was smart enough to, and also once it was dead, the attack stopped. Like this was the tiger behind the attacks in this band of territory.
That is so...
It was like smart enough to know that I hunt in this village. I'll just book it. I'll go 20 miles during the night. And also, I didn't include this. Jim had been hunting this tiger, and he had never seen it kill someone at night. It always did it during the day.
Damn. Playing on
That's
hard
like
mode.
Fucked up. Hell yeah, tiger. Get shot in the face.
Jesus Christ.
I mean, it's a good effort, but still no match for Man with Gun.
Yeah.
Man with a gun is...
Get wrecked.
It
Top
might have been a
tier,
match.
And
It might have been a match for a few men with guns.
yeah, Man with Gun and his 300 Indian
But not
friends.
an American with a gun.
An American. What a guy, huh?
I like how this story, like I read the article while you were talking about it, Scott, and I like how the story, they said the shot that finally brought it down
It was
was
in
to
the
the
paw.
foot.
Wow.
Yeah. He shot it in the paw and it fell down like 30 feet away from him or something.
I'd probably fall over if I got shot in the foot.
But, well, also you'd been shot in, like, the head and stomach, like, a couple times before then.
Yeah.
So are hit points real?
No.
Oh, okay.
They were real tonight.
That's an abstraction used in tabletop RPGs like Pathfinder First Edition,
Yeah.
a game that you guys just got done playing.
Yeah, it was.
We could talk about that for the next 20 minutes or so and then in the podcast.
Uh-huh.
Sure.
That's my corner, everybody.
Scott, that was an enjoyable corner, except for the part where I'm looking over my
Great.
shoulder.
2 of the stories probably weren't real.
But you know, it's fun to talk about them anyways.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. You know,
Just like John did.
just like I did. What do you mean?
when you hunted women and children, just like the tiger. Can you imagine how frightened you would be if you saw John come around, like, bearing a knife at you?
Don't think he'd need a knife.
Honestly, I can only imagine John with a knife being timid, so I don't know what that would be like.
That's
to
how
be
he gets you in,
honestly.
though. That's how he disarms you.
That makes
He
perfect
disarms
sense.
you with his knife. Because he...
It's just me, guys. Guys, it's me.
Hold this for a second.
Anyway,
You give him the murder weapon. Could you just, like, stab yourself?
Puts a 20 on the table. Come on. All right. 20
It's
more.
me.
Okay. $100.
But then John you actually do it for $100, but John actually leaves the money for your corpse.
This guy's calling card. What's his game?
Oh, speaking of, real
The
quick,
bribery killer.
a bit of an update on last episode. This guy that contacted us over Facebook, we did agree to take his money.
Right.
We took the job.
And have you done the job
Well,
yet?
actually, I mean, he's done a
Oh?
terrible job of trying to communicate with me when we're gonna do it. And so it hasn't been done yet. We've established a price, and they just stopped messaging me. So
Well,
All right, well,
so we did agree
Shame.
to do it, but it never got done.
Pathfinder, huh?
yeah, sure.
it sounds like some interesting things happen in
Kyle,
this session.
I want to congratulate you. You've taken my V card.
Oh,
This is the first character I've ever had die that I cared about.
that you cared about.
Bit of a caveat there.
Well, any other character that died was like that level 1, they have 7 health, fucking a rock falls on them, or it rains and they die.
Yeah.
Ezra died like 3 times.
Yeah, that's true. But this was my first character that died that I cared about. And he walked up,
Now
he
what,
saw
Joel?
the boss, he got stabbed through the chest, and died in literally 2 attacks.
And then he pulled the
We-
pin
we-
on his grenade nuke.
On his terrorist card. he has a grenade that's full of all this acidic poison gas that just like rusts everything around it and burns everything around it and makes it all start boiling and bubbling. And that happened.
It's like when John goes to the
Is
rescue.
that what?
Dude, it really is.
Is that what sarin gas does?
Kinda.
Okay, well, damn.
There's a story in that horrible, tragic sarin gas attack where a woman with contacts had direct exposure to it in her face. I think it was a lady. It was somebody with contacts. And the goddamn contacts fused to her lenses.
Oh, fuck.
And you'd think, in a perfect world, it would fix everything. I have permanent good eyesight now. But no. No, she was just blind.
Ugh.
One of those cruel twists of fate.
Yes. Tragic.
Is anybody going to explain the session?
So, we were in this, like, ancient dwarven fort. And in the bottom of this fort, they would hold these dwarves who aren't there anymore. It was basically like a prison, but for weird shit.
Oh,
And-
like an SCP facility.
Kinda. I said it several times. It seems like a weird magical SCP thing going on. But in the very, very bottom, I don't even know I'm gonna be real, guys. Scott's here, being real, as he always is. I don't know what the fuck was going on down there.
Couldn't tell you. We didn't have enough time to really explore it.
For some reason, there was this horrible demon king rat man held down there. And he was like, was that even the guy who was like trying to get us to go down? I don't remember.
No.
Was it a
that
different
ghost
entity?
Dwarf. Yeah, that was a different entity.
Are you shitting me?
So who's
Hold
that
on,
guy?
you're shitting me.
The ghosts from earlier, or do you mean the one that was on the chair?
The one in the chair. We sat on the chair, the
yeah,
throne.
Oh yeah, no, that was that was
Okay.
the same thing.
Okay.
Okay. So yada yada yada. This huge complex. We go level by level. This has been like a 4-session thing that we've been doing. I wrestled a vacuum.
I shot a cockroach.
Right.
And a ghost. Multiple ghosts.
So we're at the bottom. To explain, I guess I should explain, the characters a bit. My name's Annie. All right. I'm a dwarf. I talk like this. Isn't that great? Done it great at a grinder. John is Arthur from Red Dead, but a half-elf.
Yep, that's true.
And also an idiot, I guess.
He's not smart. He's average. He's okay.
Chris, who are you? Who are you, Chris?
I am.
You were.
I was
Word.
a super genius teenage girl who piloted a Gundam.
He's an anime character.
Yes.
He's a mech anime character. And Kyle's beloved is also in this game, and she is like a lolicon vampire lady.
Yeah.
Goth lolly, I
Hemomancer?
believe is the term. Hemomancer. Yeah. I don't like it. Either way, she controls blood. So, I don't even know where to start, guys. I'm gonna be real.
Let's start at the beginning of the end. We entered like this. What was it, like a maze, like a very long spiral tunnel?
We went to the very bottom of the structure. Let's just start there. We're at the very bottom of the structure. I presume it's the bottom. And this huge expansive
check my maps.
This huge expansive room opens up before us, and there's lots of pathways on the sides of this room. It reminds me of like a big throne room, like a really big room.
And we did what any good D&D party does. We split up. We went into 2 groups. Cover more ground. It's logical. Right. And we immediately find Scott and I, Annie and Deja. We immediately find this vase that's glowing green, and in like this secret compartment. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I open it, and it creates this black.
Okay, I need to go back a step, because this was the funniest thing to me when I was running this, is you guys found the secret door that, like, this was supposed to be hidden, and you guys were supposed to run around the complex and find these things in the middle of the fight, and then you found the one that was supposed to be behind a secret wall first,
Yep.
Before even encountering the boss. Yep. You open up the secret fucking door, the light shines out, and both of you immediately go, no, closed door.
Red flags.
Because we're playing on Roll20. John had seen what he presumed to be a mask, and I didn't know what I was looking at. So when he says there's some mask emitting a green light when we open this door, I'm like, oh god. And, this floating green mask emitting a light. I'm like, it's gonna like possess me or something, and I'm gonna beat the shit out of John. And so we closed the door. That was my gut instinct. We need to close this door before something weird happens. That wasn't the right play. We ended up going in, and we were really startling, like inch by inch. I remember my character like went in and like, I don't like it, and I went back out, and then I went back in further.
It was so in character for us though, with how much we were just fucking around with it. But eventually we open it up.
Yeah. And a horrible goo monster comes out.
Mm-hmm. It's just this decayed ichor of like compiled decomposing bodies, just like rolling around. It's basically the thing from Stranger Things 2.
Right.
Yes.
But
there's a bunch of them.
I'm a brawler. I punch things. Mm-hmm. So I'm in over my head. I see goo, and it's trying to escape from this thing. I'm like, you know what? I need to wrestle this goo into submission and put it back where it's trying to escape from. So I try that, but then I start vomiting.
Yep.
Because it's disgusting.
It's already grabbed Deja. And
he's gone. He got dragged away.
Yeah, I started getting dragged away, and he has this magical friendship bracelet with Isla, with Kyle's girlfriend. And it can be used to safely teleport either one to each other. Except when she did that, she brought it with him. So now this black goo was just all over the place, everywhere.
And I'm alone, wrestling this other half of the black
Yeah.
goo.
Eventually more black goo comes out, and we're all just handling it poorly. The more you deal with it, the more sick you become. We're over here vomiting and throwing up on ourselves and trying to run away.
Except for Excess. Excess, my character did not, like, puke once.
That's great.
It's fantastic, Chris.
But eventually all this like black goo stuff culminated together in the main chamber, which none of us had been in yet. Right. And I remember the secret door closed when the goo that you were fighting with left. It flipped the switch and the door closed behind you, so you were trapped in that secret room. So I'm like, oh no, I gotta go get Annie.
I mean, I thought I was trapped, and then I just like walked up to the door and opened it.
Yeah. And so Deja's immediately, once he gets free, he's running back to try to get there to reopen the door to help you out. And then you're just not there. And like the whole party started the boss fight on like opposite ends of a fucking 700-page book. Like me and you were at the beginning of the room. Isla and Chris's character were at the ends of it, seeing the boss. And the first thing the boss did when it came up was raise the dead bodies of all these little rat people around the temple, which were just like scattered around the temple. We just saw all these bones laying around. And it was terrible. It was a terrible time.
But we solved it. Our side. You hucked a grenade into them. By the way, this isn't your classic fantasy
This is
setting.
high sci-fi.
Yeah, we're sci-fi people with a fantasy twinge, though. Don't worry. And you threw a grenade into the group of rat skeletons, and I closed the door, and they all blew up. And I like rushed through. What happened to you? I don't even remember.
I threw the grenade, ran around the side, and hid there, and then I went the long way back around through the tunnel or through the hallway.
I never saw you again.
Yeah,
I never saw
true.
you again. What ended up happening is I rush out and rush into the main room after this grenade has gone off to, I don't even know what. My character's an idiot, and I don't even know what's happening. I don't know what I can do. I don't know how I can help. All I know is that there's a problem, and maybe I can punch it. Only to see, as I rush in, this enormous rat man.
It looks like
With,
a Doom boss.
Yeah. And it's metal as fuck. And
Chris, do you want me to send pictures to like so that people can see what that
Yeah,
looks
sure.
like? Okay, I'll get you a picture of it.
And it just like charges past me, and Deja was behind me. Apparently, I hadn't seen him. And as it's rushing, Deja like shoots several times, and it's like screaming something at Deja. We can barely understand what the rat's saying. And Deja's just like opening with his guns up, just blowing this thing away. And it has this huge long glaive that it just pierces Deja through the chest and kills him right then and there.
Deja was probably
Jesus Christ.
the weakest character in the party. He had a max health. What level are we? Level 7?
7.
At level 7, he had 44 health. He was already injured from earlier stuff, so he was sitting at a promising 29. And we saw the damage that this guy was outputting. I'm like, I messaged Scott well beforehand, foreshadowing. I'm like, I think I survived 1 hit. I don't think I survived 2 if it's good rolls.
Yeah.
And it rolls.
He hit him twice.
Yep, it hit me twice for max damage both times.
Yep. Yep.
Outright killing my character.
Just like that.
And in his dying breath, he pulled the pin on a super secret grenade that Deja apparently had. How long have you had the super secret terrorist grenade?
Since I was off screen.
Interesting.
So I'd had that leave of absence and then came back in. I got bamfed back into the game. I had it from that point on.
During the Ratman's turn, he stabbed like he impaled Deja on the glaive and just lifted him up and ate him off the end of it like a kebab.
Yep.
Oh, geez. So it's
Yeah.
not like he's just like dead, but you could resurrect him. He's been
Kyle-
ate.
He is gone.
Kyle was like, "Hey," he's like, "You can do this," and I'm like, "No," I'm like, "That feels cheap," and I moved on from that. I'm like, he's like, "All right," he's like, "Well, instead, I'll let you use that to kind of have like a last action," and I'm like, "All right." The first thing I'm gonna call this oozing giant demon doom bad guy is, I'm like, "All right, fuck you, shit stain."
Should call him Ratbag.
Yeah, I should have. And I fired off a couple of shots, and then I mentioned to Kyle, I mentioned that, you could see the bomb in my belt loop, that it was there. And from that point on, I let Kyle do what he wanted with the character. I just told him, hey, this is what I'm doing. I rolled my final attacks, all of them missed, I think. And then he said something with his voiceover that he has that I could not understand, but I'm like, hey, you know what? This is beautiful. I finally get to see one of my characters die.
Yada yada yada. The grenade goes off. In the meantime, the rat had like repositioned himself to be like next to Chris's character and I. The grenade goes off, and the thing like starts seizing and freaking out, and I imagine it like coughed up the grenade because it was emitting all this. It started coughing up all this gas.
Oh no! So the way I described it was that it essentially blew its torso in
Yeah,
half.
that motherfucker
And
got
then the gas just like
that guy
shoot
got
out.
celled.
And he flies to the other side of the room. And while he's flying by, I'm like, do I get an attack of opportunity? And so I just like punch him in the knee as he's going by. And so we see, like, oh, he must be dead. We see this crumpled form in the corner of the room, way far away from where he was. And but the important thing is, this gas isn't going away. And what's even worse is we start to see the creature like seize and like jiggle, and he's like reconstituting whatever he's able to regenerate. And we don't know what to do. We don't know how to stop this creature. So Excess, which is Chris's character's name, Excess is like, I'm putting it all on the line, guys. You go for it.
So up until this point in this fight, I've been wasting the bad guy's turn because he cannot hit me. So he had to pull like all these different stops, and finally it's, oh, Chris rolls poorly, so he can't make his saves. Cool. So I start taking damage from that, and I'm just trying to do damage with my like nanobot light sword, because my character believes that all magic is fake or is just technology disguised as being supernatural.
Like Thor.
Yeah. And she's like, if I can see it, I can explain it. And it can become technology. So she has all this stuff that she does with that. So she added to her Gundam this laser beam that has two settings. It has a wide mode, which I had used earlier in that fight, and a focused mode that does a shit ton of damage. But I have a giant battery pack on my mech that allows me to overcharge my laser beam to do shit more damage. So, this friend that had been adventuring with us for the longest time is now dead. The monster that did it isn't dead. And I'm just like, all right, fuck this shit. You're gonna die. And like I had at that point when I'm like, I'm going to overclock this thing and get as much power of it as I can, I was like, there is a large possibility I die because I roll crap. Because if I roll under the
however many points you spend to
if I
power
roll
the shot.
under that number, then
It comes back at you.
It explodes. Yeah. But it
It
still
reminds me
fires.
of the
Critical
scene.
failure.
It reminds me of the scene from One Punch Man
Yeah.
where Genos is trying to stop the asteroid,
Yeah.
and he opens up his chest and takes out his like energy core and puts it into his arm to shoot the cannon stronger, and he just puts everything he can into the fire blast.
Yeah.
It doesn't work.
Spoiler alert. So I fire, and I do end up rolling low, but I still hit the max.
You rolled a 2.
Yes, I was supposed to roll a 10. And
Uh-oh.
So
that means all of the damage that he did to the
all the
thing he was shooting at.
I did to myself.
And how much damage was that?
Like 100 and something.
That was 115 damage split 3 ways between fire, electric, and acid.
Right.
And at this point, my suit still had 23 health, and I had 25.
So you're well dead.
So I am well dead.
You're well done.
Mm-hmm. If I was at full health, I wouldn't have died.
Wow.
I would.
You'd have dropped unconscious.
I'd be where I am now, I think, actually.
That's incredible, because if I was at full health, I would have been unconscious and dead.
Interpose this with me. I am a dwarven lady
who's new to this
punches
party.
Stuff. I punch stuff, and there's a Gundam protagonist shooting a gigantic laser, and basically, it's a lot of anime combining in my head.
Yeah.
It's like when I think this happened at some point in Dragon Ball, where somebody shot a beam so hard that they disintegrated while shooting it.
Oh, well, when I died, and I died with the grenade, I sent Monsi a gif of the Vegeta pose, the majestic Vegeta pose, where he's like glistening right before he's about to do the final flash.
Yeah.
Because like before Kyle even mentioned that like the grenade pin hit the ground, I'm like, I think he knows what I'm going for here.
I wasn't 100% sure, but I was really hoping that you had planted that for a reason. So that's why I went with it.
I was all about it. If Deja was gonna die, I wanted to see it in action.
So half our party's dead.
So, Chris, not to call you out or anything, but you saw this giant rat demon king thing get hit with a nuclear explosion. And then it started getting back up and reconstituting yourself. And you're like, let's just try again.
So I watched this video by
he had a response prepared.
Jake Geller, and I think it was Jake Geller, and it was
Jacob Geller, you mean?
Yeah, and it was
orbital lasers.
It was orbital lasers. Yes,
that's Jacob Geller.
Yep. And
he doesn't need the bump, but it's a great channel. I love him.
Yeah, you should watch the video. It's good. Link in the description. But like, yeah, like in the moment, my thought was it's still it was obviously incredibly hurt, right? And but it's like starting to like, you know, and you noticing it's beating and it's like trying to reconstitute itself. So I'm like, all right, let's just go for it. This is what I have, right?
A real Dom, drop the hammer type situation.
Yeah.
Man, nobody knew what he was doing.
I will say,
and like he looks over at Scott's character and he's like, Annie, you should get away from me.
Yeah. I didn't want to take out Annie if I blew up.
And it was great because nobody understood what he had. I'm the only one who knew what had happened there. So when he said, I'm empty, he's like, I have 10 battery points.
I don't have any battery points.
And then 1 second later, he's like, I now have 0 battery points. I'm like, oh, well, there's like a 50-50 shot now that Chris blows up and dies.
Did you kill it, though?
Well, he shot this huge laser beam. What did it even look like? How about you give us, what were we even looking at? Was it like a green Avada Kedavra-like thing?
So, like, I'm thinking of it like, I'm in my mech. My My right foot's back, my left foot's forward, and I'm crouched a little bit. My left arm's with the cannon on, it's out, and I'm holding it, and I'm charging, and then suddenly this giant, like, blue beam shoots out.
Samus.
And everything around me, like, turns black and white, as it's just so bright.
If you've played Super Smash Bros, the Zero laser, whatever her Super Smash thing is, that, but it would be green. This is Warpstone fueled, so it would have been green.
Oh, okay.
So he shoots a big green laser
But yes, that.
at this
Your final words were great,
crippled
too.
mass of goo and rat. And what's left behind is a single rat skull perched atop, which is a huge rat skull with bent, crooked, evil-looking horns, perched atop.
I posted a picture in the Discord if you guys want to have an idea of what this thing would have looked like.
Perched atop I assume it was all of that mass that has now been like calcified and congealed and solidified into a green gem. And I look, it's like a 2 foot, wide green gem on the ground. And Annie's turn is up next, and I'm just like, oh, I punched the skull. Right, it's like, that's Ezra. I'm sorry, everybody. And I punched the skull, like, really good. I got a fucking natural 20 on it. And I just punched that skull, turned it into dust. But then, Kyle's girlfriend starts yelling at me, hey, it's not dead. I think we need to do something to that green gem. So I pick up the green gem, and I don't even know what was happening. I was just kind of flying by the seat of my pants. She seemed to understand what was going on.
At least you had pants.
But something seemed to be anchoring this gem, this mass of what used to be rat material. And I could feel it like pulsing, like it wanted to get out of my hands. And I didn't let it. And I don't even really know what happened. I'm going to be real. What happened, Kyle?
Okay. So, a little bit of backstory. So this, you guys were right. It is kind of a big Dwarven Fortress SCP Foundation thing. Basically, it was, they would take payments from people to store stuff that someone believed nobody should have or know about anymore. Basically, it's just a vault to make stuff go away forever. Unfortunately, the way that the rat men in my setting work is they live underneath the universe, like on a sub-level. So, we live in like 3/4 dimensions and stuff. They're like down there in 2. They've got their own little bubble of not quite our reality down there. And so what they do is they will then punch a hole out of that to get back up into real space to get, slaves, food, materials, whatever the fuck they want. Well, they came up from the bottom. And so the dwarves there held the line for as long as they could, but big rat demon dude showed up and started making it an issue for him. And so they used what a little bit of the forbidden knowledge they had to basically find some way they couldn't figure out how to kill it in the time they had, but they could figure out how to seal it down there so that it couldn't, if they did, banish it, it couldn't come back. So they locked it down in there. And what you guys ended up doing is all of those vases, those vessels, contained parts of its essence, almost like a Horcrux kind of a deal. And what you ended up doing was there was a big bottomless pit over in one corner, and the dwarves had already chucked one of those vases down there. And the goal for the game was that if you either destroyed the things in the vases, which would bring the rat demon back further into reality.
So he could be killed?
He could be killed. That one vase, however, was down there and anchoring him to its location. And so either you throw all the vases down there or destroy them and he gets sucked down into that hole.
Right.
Which is what happened. they threw enough of him in there and destabilized things that he did get yanked down into the hole at the end. It just so happens that you guys lost two party
Right.
members in the process.
So we ended the session with Annie and Isla leaving the chamber and just being like, yeah, you know, what can you do? You know,
Isla-
it's in the job.
Isla has tried one of the last few more bracelets in her charm to see if she can get Deja back.
And I don't think it's...
And that is where we ended
I
the
don't
game.
think that's going to work. Annie literally showed up to this party earlier today.
Earlier that
This
day in canon of the game.
I was hired to be a translator because no one spoke dwarf, but then because RPGs are weird, we gained a level in between then and now. So now Isla can speak dwarf. So I am a bit superfluous.
Well, it sounds like you guys have some important decisions to make here
So
very soon.
Yeah. I put in... Yeah.
I just had a thought about, because for the audience that don't know, my character XS1123 was a science experiment, right?
Oh, you're going to be
She said no, it doesn't-
XS1124.
Oh God, please no.
No, all the other children are dead. Either from her hand or from whoever attacked the space station.
It'll be like Crypto from Destroy All Humans or whatever.
Crypto's
his name is.
Sporidium.
Yeah.
And she's paired with an AI named Quintus that was in the suit. Somehow, Quintus ended up in her head.
Somehow,
In our
Palpatine's alive.
in our journey, that has happened. So because they're in each other's head, when she fires and they notice that it's starting to come back, I just imagine like the split-second conversation of XS going like, "I love you, Dad."
Oh, gross.
Wow.
Quintus just being like,
You too, son.
I'm a girl!
Oh, dude. And your last words
Well,
were great. It was like, that was my
that's,
friend, followed by, ah!
Well, that's lovely. We
Yeah, this
are
is
dramatically over time.
Extremely extended.
Yeah, we're at
podcast.
like 100 an hour 40.
Yeah.
it was good stuff.
So, does anybody have some final
Yeah, I have
comments?
this one last story that I want to tell.
Because we don't have time for
Great.
any final comments.
Absolutely.
What strange
we're
stories
going to
do you
end
guys know?
the
Leave them in the
episode
comments.
right now.
Bye, everybody.
Goodbye, everybody.
See ya.